Hello, my name is Dolan Mills. You might recognize my name from the Zoom meetings. For my class project, I decided to look at China and its plan to become a major producer of electronic vehicle technology. I found this topic to be very interesting and one that had a lot of good data for it. I don't know how many of you have heard of China's plan called Made in China 2025. And the gist of it is China wants to move from being a low-end manufacturer to becoming a high-end of quality goods, sophisticated goods. They can produce like raw commodities well, but when it comes to sophistication in the past, they've lacked that. These are the sectors that the Chinese government hope to improve on. They hope to be a producer of quality pharmaceuticals, IT technology, but what I'm focused on today is the EV commodities that China is trying to produce and trying to become the world leader in EVs. For this project, I downloaded data from the UN Comtrade portal. This portal is produced by the UN, and it has trade data for just about anything. For this project, I downloaded 5 years of data related to the imports of rare earth metals into China, and then the export of cells and batteries and lithium-based cells and batteries outside of China to countries globally. The main question that I wanted to answer in this analysis is China achieving its Made in China 2025 goals related to electronic vehicles? And to support this question, or to try to answer it, I wanted to do 3 analytical questions. First of all being, could I identify trends within the data that showed a relationship between rare earth imports and the exports of cell batteries from China, and try to identify any relationships there were in the data. And secondly, I wanted to see if I could produce a classification model that could predict trade partners with China by country, whether it be Afghanistan or Russia or whatnot. And then third, I wanted to predict possible revenues from cell battery exports from China. For question 1, I did some exploratory analysis using Matplotlib and Jupyter Notebooks. These are some of the graphs that I made. I can show the notebook later on. I expected there to be an increase in China's imports of rare earth minerals, and surprisingly, it decreased dramatically. In 2019, they had considerable imports, and then from 2020 on, they really didn't import that much at all, which was surprising to me. It may show that China is becoming more independent in regards to rare earth minerals. In contrast, China did export more and more of lithium cell batteries. Again, in 2020, that was the year that their exports spiked, and then they have increased steadily since then. I also looked at the dollar values of these commodities. Cell batteries produced way more revenue than rare earth imports. They're almost not comparable. However, you can still see the inverse relationships between the import of rare earth elements and then the exports of cell batteries. And these trends are consistent with what we see in the news. China is tightening control of rare earth elements. They're almost hoarding those elements and have issued a ban of exporting them out of the country, while the U.S. has been looking to disrupt China's supply chain of its lithium batteries. And so the US is seeing China as more and more of a threat, and they're trying to disrupt their production and keep them from being the world leader in this technology. For question 2, I used the K-neighbors classifier from Skylearn to create a classification model. And some of these steps and the analysis included importing Python libraries, and then importing 5 years worth of data related to rare earth and cell batteries. Again, I had to make z-scores from all these values and then create test and training data sets. The training set was split into 80-20, and so these are some of the parameters that I used. 5 for neighborhoods and the clusters, and then the weights for uniform with a Euclidean metric. This is the table, one of the tables produced. You can see the country codes along the top. They've been hot coded, so you might see like Afghanistan as being a 1, and then over here in the China preferred, that is a 1, meaning China was the primary partner of Afghanistan in this row of data. And then anywhere you see a 0, that would be a US partner, and then 1 would be a China partner. I was able to render my predictions in sentences, and the results were displayed like this, where you see Aruba was predicted to be a partner with China, but in actuality, the data showed that China, so these two things actually matched. Like we predicted China would be the partner, and it was China that was the actual partner when we compared it to the actual data. I did make some miscalculations in these predictions. For example, Argentina was predicted to be a partner of the USA, but the actual data showed that it was a partner with China. And so I had about a 75% accuracy doing this classification model. And for question 3, I was able to create a regression model using the K-neighbors regressor from Skylearn and predict some values based on that. Again, I had to import libraries. I looked at monthly data from 2022 to 2023, had to group the data, and then create a K-neighbors regressor model. And these are some of the results. The first time around the model, I did my z-scores before splitting the data, which is this top table. And the bottom table is after taking recommendations. I split the data first and then did the z-scores. I pretty much kept the same parameters with the 80-20 split. 5 neighbors, uniform, Euclidean. And then I hot-coded, well, actually, the first time I hot-coded the month, and then the second time I just z-scored the month, but columns included the net weight, quantity, and dollar value. This project was fun to work on. I think a lot of the trends from the exploratory analysis were represented in news stories. And then I had some interesting predictions from the classification model and the regressor model. And now I'll just show you some of the notebooks before I wrap up. So for the exploratory analysis, again, I use matplotlib and brought in data for 5 years for rare earth. And, well, this is the chart for the rare earth for 5 years. And then also the cell batteries, which is this chart. And then again, you have the quantity in kilograms, and then the year, grouping the data by year, and then by dollar value. or shoot. So, this is the classification model. Again, I used Skylearn Neighbors, the K-Neighbors classifier. 5 years of data for trade for lithium cells again. Had to do a lot of data grouping and then splitting it up and training and test data sets, and then doing the hot encoding into z-scores, which looked like this. You have the countries being hot coded, and then China preferred means, was China the primary partner? 1 meaning it was China, 0 meaning USA, and then the net weight, the year, and then the dollar value rendered in z-scores. And then again, I was able to transform the predictions into a sentence structure. And so you might have things like Bermuda was predicted to partner with China, and then the data showed that it did partner with China. And I'm trying to see if there's another interesting one. USA. But I don't see one off the top, but it was some interesting predictions nonetheless. Like Azerbaijan was predicted to be partner with China, but it was actually partnered with the US. And so finally, the regressor model. Data from 2022 and 2023 concatenated together, and then grouped by month and summed for value and weight and quantity. And then calculated the z-scores under training and the test sets. And then those were my predictions. Thank you for listening. Good luck on your projects. Thank you.